getting your face out there is important. Letting people know that you're out there is important, but also your procedures, because even a photographer has to know how to run
process systems.
You got to know how to do your taxes. You got to know how to report what you've made. You got to how do you expenditure?
Not even that part. Like, let's just talk about how to deliver properly. Right? How do you go out there, do a photo shoot, and what's your process as far as like intake of the photography? How do you choose the best ones? How do you deliver that? Is it digitally? Is it print? Like, how do you create your packages? How do you do like all that side of like, what is your deliverables when you're a photographer, right? Yeah. What are they paying for? Because most of the time when I first started, I was like, I just love being a creative and photography. And at the very beginning, I didn't know how to finish anything. Yeah. I didn't know what I was doing when it came to business or deliverables, or even telling them, hey, it'll be done in 2 weeks.
I saw this tweet the other day. This is how we can get to this kind of punchline of what you just said. But I saw this tweet the other day. Was the difference between a good business and a great business is how much you emphasize or how much you focus on the boring stuff.
Yeah.
The shooting the photo, shooting the video is not the boring.
Stuff.
Yeah, that's the sexy part. Yeah. The setting up the Facebook page, posting your images and all that, that's the fun part.
That's the dopamine hit.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, oh, man, like I just designed this banner on Canva, man. I'm going to put it up on Facebook.
Right, yeah. And that's...
Like, who wouldn't want to work with me?
Oh, my gosh. I spent, I saw an Instagram story the other day where it was like in my archives, I spent like 2-3 hours on a vlog intro. I was like, dude, this thing is awesome. Like, I'm going to get so many views now. But the boring stuff, which is your all your systems and processes, all the back end stuff that no one's ever gonna see, but everyone feels, because that's the difference between doing business with somebody who's got it together and doing business with somebody who doesn't, right? Like, we know whenever our process is half baked, and the response that we've gotten because we've been in it long enough. But one thing I always admired about your working with you in the early days, especially, was I loved, we shot content, and then you would go home immediately and just pop, like the videos. You got a rough cut before the morning.
Yeah, we had a process, which was interesting how you bring this up, because we had a process. It's like, after we filmed, we actually brought it to the studio back in the office, and we organized all the files. We jumped all the files, and as it was fresh in our minds, right? As the edit, like, because when I was filming and when we were doing production together, we used to create music videos for YouTubers and stuff like that, and musicians, and
so much fun.
It was a lot of fun. These people, times. It was the best, because these are artists from like The Voice and like all these places, these popular. Influencers on YouTube and stuff like that.
What was funny to me as being an outsider getting into that circle was like, oh yeah, we're just going to shoot with my friend Mia. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, cool. Hi, nice to meet you. My name's Mia Furman. I'm sorry, what? Like, this isn't just a friend from high school. This is like, she's a singer, dude. Like, she's a big deal.
Which was funny because growing up in LA, I grew up with very talented people. Yeah. And they're my friends. Like, they're just, we grew up all together, and I was the only one at the time when they were going to college at Citrus or APU or something like that. I was the video guy. I was the director guy, because it wasn't cool back then. Like, in my age, like in my time, I was just a nerdy kid that loved to really explore the boundaries of creativity.
Well, you had to know how to use a camera. Yeah. Like, people forget how we're not that far away from the time when, like, people were still using you had to use a darkroom to develop your film. Yeah. And we're not that far away from that.
It's not. I first started in the darkroom. I first started when I was 11, 12 years old. That's probably why I lost so many brain cells. is because I started in the darkroom. I had to learn how each f-stop and exposure affects film. And the film emulsion, and like even like putting the dark kind of curtain thing and like blindfoldly putting the film around the thing so it gets developed. And like I could smell the chemicals, and it brings such nostalgia, right? Where I'm just like,
they got a candle that has that.
Yeah, right. They should make film candles. That's awesome. Oh my gosh, you know how much that would make. But I think like there's a beauty in the learning in the process, and now tie it back to instant gratification.
Yes, I wanted to go back to that. For sure.
Well, I want to finish up with the process of bringing it home, having a process, creating folders, and freshen our minds. Because when we were filming, I already chopped it in my head of what shot it's gonna look like, and that's just the experience of a seasoned editor and a seasoned filmmaker.
For sure.
Is you already have these ideas. It's here. And as you're editing and taking that to the dark room, as you're cutting it, like I would have people, I would have friends. I had a couch, and remember in my office at my family's house, we would have couches and chairs and stuff because I would have friends over just watching the process.
You do that,
and they were just. I was like, y'all don't have to sit here. Y'all could go play Mario Kart in the next room. If this is done boring, in an hour. I'll be cranking this thing out. But they would always sit there and watch the process, and I was always like, why? This is so boring. Yeah. It is so boring. Yeah. And like they're watching the magic happen in real time. And it was just fast. I mean, you sat there and watched me edit it.
Dude, some of our and just side note, because I think that's a unique gift too that I didn't really realize was being able to, as you're shooting, you see the story in your mind start to develop, right? Yeah. And so some of my favorite vlogs that we've shot are whenever you and I both sat down together. And we're like, you know, like, okay, I can see this happening. I'm like, oh man, you know, it'd be really funny, or like, let's tie this in right here, right? So I always had the vision. I just never had I could hear the music in my head, but I can't play it. Yeah,
you didn't have the technical kind of like editing chops. To put it out there. Like it was in your head. Right. It was in your head and it was stuck in your head, and there was no way to communicate that to the camera, to the computer.
Right.